Shenoah Grove here, founder of Texas REIAs. Excited to be with you guys today. We have both a live audience, so welcome guys. If you didn't know you're participating in our live audience, we're doing a live audience recording of our show tonight so that we can broadcast it live to the people who are watching us and all of the different ways that people can watch us. So that's Twitch, that's Twitter, that's Zoom, that's Goto webinar, that's Instagram, that's Facebook, and then many folks will also even catch us on our YouTube channel. So excited to be here with you guys as we get started with the meeting. I'm going to be playing some slides in the background just so you can kind of get an idea of what we do here as part of the Real Estate Investor Association. So we have meetings in Austin, Houston, Dallas, and San Antonio. We get together and we meet every single Tuesday. So it's our honor to be here to share with you guys some of the real estate investing knowledge and experience we've learned and gained over almost 2 decades of investing in real estate. And as we go through the presentation today, I might ask a couple of you guys to walk up to the mic. So one of the cool things that we get to do and I see everyone's now looking at each other a little nervous. Don't be nervous, it's okay, it won't hurt, I promise. But what we like to do here is a little bit of live coaching. So if you're working on a deal, I'd love to ask you about that deal. That's one of the fun things that we get to do, just kind of share some of our experiences from investing for the last almost 2 decades with you guys as you are maybe just getting started or trying to perfect your craft a little bit. So certainly be happy to help you guys work through any of the different things that you've got working on, going on right now. So we are Texas's largest association of real estate investors. We have over 80,000 people who have been members, who have been guests, who have been vendors, who have been supporters of the Real Estate Investor Association. And we get together every Tuesday and talk about real estate investing, share knowledge, share what we call tribal knowledge. For us, we invest in just about every asset class that there is for investing. So I know a lot of people are very focused on either residential real estate or on commercial real estate. For us, if there's an ability to make money off of it, then we are interested in it. For us, we want to make money every single time the phone rings. That is our job as a real estate investor, is to make our phone ring, and then from there is to be able to make money off of the rings that you get. And guys, we are all over social media. So for me, I love listening on the Texas REIAs podcast. Some of you guys may be more Facebook folks. Some of you guys may be more Instagram folks. Some of you guys may be more in the YouTube watching. So just know that we're on all of the social platforms. For me, again, I love to get knowledge and information on podcasts. So I'll listen to podcasts while I'm working out, while I'm walking, while I'm driving in the car. But I know some of you guys like to get information different ways, and we are in all of those different places. All you have to do is search for Texas REIAs, R-E-I-A-S. And you'll be able to join us and just see what we're talking about now, see current trends in the marketplace, and find different ways to invest based on what we're seeing now, what's working now, because things are changing, and you guys will get the feeling for that when I do the market update. This is going to be the first market update this month where we saw every single one of the large metropolitan areas, we saw a reduction in sales year over year. Now, we did see a big jump in price, but we also saw a reduction in pending sales, and we also saw a big increase in terms of the amount of inventory. Now, a big increase from half a month of inventory to 0.8 months of inventory. It's the trend that we're looking for. So right now we only have 1 data point, and as far as I remember, I think it takes at least 2 to get a trend line. But that is something that we're watching and something we're going to continue to talk about and comment on as we talk in the meeting and as we get together and share tribal knowledge to make sure that if we are in a market that is about to change, maybe from interest rates or maybe from economic changes or maybe from, I don't know, a war that's going on, maybe because of inflation, maybe because of supply chain issues. We all know what move to make next based on being networked and being informed together. So as some of you guys have been able to see, I've got several slides that are playing in the background. For those of you guys who are watching online, you guys will be able to see it. For those of you guys who are listening online, again, you can catch us on any of the socials where you can actually watch the video as well. and see the screens and see the presentation. So I've got a lot of different tribal knowledge information on here for you guys to be able to put into play in your own business. And with the slide that I have up right now talks about what we call the real estate investor maximum allowable offer formula. And guys, if you are new to this concept, this is a concept that I want to make sure you understand before you leave here today, because I'll feel like I will not have done my job if you don't walk out of here knowing this. Because a lot of times what I find is the new investor will get started and they'll do some basic math, and they'll do what I call TV math. So TV math doesn't include any holding costs, it doesn't include any property taxes, it doesn't include any utilities, it doesn't include insurance, it doesn't include closing costs on the buy, and it doesn't include closing costs on the sell or realtor fees or anything like that. So that's one of the reasons why we use this formula, what we call the 70% of ARV minus repairs formula, is because it accounts for all of that. And typically, if we're using that formula, we're making somewhere between 10 to 15% of profit. So the slide that I have up really goes through all of the typical expenses that we have as real estate investors that a lot of new investors either are not aware of or skip this when they're doing the math. So a lot of new investors would take this house that has an ARV of 300, that has repairs of 60,000, and basically say, well, I've got it for 200, I must be in the money here, not realizing all of the other costs and considerations that come into play, and all the different ways not only you can make money, but also the ways you could lose money if you're not putting in an offer at the right price, which in this case would be 500,000, because 70% of 300,000 is 210 minus the $60,000 needed for repairs. That puts you at a $150,000 offer. At a $150,000 offer, you're typically going to make 10 to 15% of the ARV, so somewhere between 30 and 45,000. What's important to remember is that for every dollar that you overpay above the ARV, that is a $1 for $1 out of your pocket from a profit standpoint. So I want to make sure none of you guys miss that.
Would you like to be a real estate investor in Texas? Come to one of our free local meetings to get access to free training, wholesale properties, capital, and power teams. Click on the link below to find a meeting near you and register for free.
And guys, also want to make sure you are aware that as part of Texas REIAs, we are also investing in commercial real estate. I'm just curious, by raise of hands, how many of you guys are going to be more focused in the beginning in residential? And then how many of you guys are going to be more focused in commercial? Okay, got a couple commercial folks. So for us, we are asset class agnostic. We want to make money whenever the phone rings. For us, we don't care if it's residential deal or commercial deal. What we find is on the residential deals that we do, they just happen a lot quicker. On the commercial deals that we do, we typically double our money, but that time that it takes to double is typically 3 to 5 years. So if you are just getting started investing and you need a quick, a quick paycheck, then for many of you guys, commercial's probably not going to be your first step. Now, commercial is going to be something that's going to fill your pipeline, so you can go ahead and start investing in commercial now, knowing that for the most part, it's not going to have that significant payback until typically years 3 through 5. And remember, that also depends on what's happening in the marketplace, because we are always in an ever-changing marketplace. So I want to make sure you all are aware of that, and also aware of some of the different calculations that we use to evaluate commercial property, which is different than what we use to evaluate residential property. So you guys have to be diversified in that way, diversified in your mind to be able to know the different analysis, the different math that is required as a real estate investor. And the slide that I have up right now, guys, is what we call our real estate investor blueprint. So this goes through the 273 different things that we learned about real estate over almost 2 decades of investing. And it's broken down into the marketing that you have to do to be able to find deals. It's broken out into all of the different strategies that you can use as a real estate investor. So what I found is the most diversified of us are the most successful. So if you'll notice in that strategy section, I've got about 12 different strategies, about 12 different ways to be able to make money every time the phone rings. You'll also want to be pretty good at sales and negotiations. I'm curious at how many of you guys are studying that right now to kind of feel comfortable at doing that. Okay, what are you reading? What are you studying?
Well, I help in a roofing company, so we do a lot of sales acquisition, so a lot of people talk to me, so it's really, how to
Yeah?
start the relationship.
Is anybody doing any studying in negotiation and sales? Anybody follow Chris Voss? Anyone know who that is? Anybody read the book Never Split the Difference? Yes. Oh, yeah. If you have not read that book, that is like the super secret ninja tactical empathy strategies that the #1 FBI terrorist and hostage negotiator used in his line of business. And for those of you guys who are asking, well, what the heck does terrorist and hostage negotiation have to do with buying real estate? If you're thinking that, then basically what you've told me is you've never dealt with a motivated seller. Because once you deal with a motivated seller, then you'll realize that sometimes it is like a terrorist or hostage negotiation. We also use multiple different marketing strategies. So I've got a list of several of the different, what we call typical marketing strategies that we like to use as real estate investors. How many of you guys are looking on the MLS for your deals right now? Okay, that's a mistake. Yes, that's okay to raise your hand. You're brave enough to do that, so I appreciate that. I will tell you that here in Houston last month, houses sold for over 100% of their list price. So if you're looking for a deal that is a fix and flip deal that you need to make money on in a very short amount of time, typically 4 to 6 months is the holding time on a fix and flip, then you're barking up the wrong tree. So what I might suggest that you do is do a little research on probably, and I don't know if it's my favorite cognitive bias because all cognitive biases have us make decisions that don't always necessarily serve us, but they're typically convenient. And one of my favorite ones when I'm talking to new real estate investors who are looking into the MLS is to do a Google search for the cognitive bias called the searchlight effect. So you might know this searchlight effect. So I'll kind of give you a little story about that just to kind of emphasize a little bit about what that looks like. So a police officer walks into a park, sees a man on his hands and knees. Says, "Sir, why are you on your hands and knees? What are you doing?" And he says, "Well, I'm looking for my keys. I can't open my door until I find my keys." So the police officer says, "Serve and protect. Tonight I serve." Gets on his hands and knees and starts looking for the keys with this gentleman, who it turns out has been drinking a little that night. And after about 15, 20 minutes, the police officer gets up and says, "We've searched everywhere. Like, your keys are nowhere to be found. Are you sure you left them over here?" And the drunk said, "No, I left them way over there. But the light, it's so much better here. The light is really good in the MLS, right? That's where all of the properties are, right? But that's where all the retail properties are. That's where all the full price properties are. I can promise you that your good deal is in some dark, dank alley way over there, right? So you've got to have the different marketing strategies to be able to find that deal, because otherwise you're like a blind man in a dark room looking for a black cat that isn't even there. And what I find is typically a lot of new investors will go through the process of looking on the MLS, bringing in a realtor to find them a deal, and then after about 6 months getting really frustrated and saying this isn't working. Or, and meaning that they've analyzed some of the quote unquote deals, and as it turns out they haven't been able to actually find something that is a true deal. Or what I would call the worst case scenario, they do find a quote unquote deal, and then they don't find out until they're into it, meaning they've bought it and they've started to renovate it, that they overpaid for it and that the renovation is much higher than what they thought it was going to be, right? So that's, to me, is even worse. I'd much rather you strike out at the, there isn't anything on the MLS that is at a 70% of ARV minus repairs level than finding and accepting something that is close, right? So if you ever catch yourself saying like, I overpaid for it, but I'm going to do the work myself, oh, that's a double recipe for a disaster. Ask any hard money lender. Because what they'll say is, you're going to do the work yourself, so that means it's going to take you twice as long to do it as it would if you hired someone else, right? And you may not be an expert rehabber, you may not be an expert contractor, you may not know all of the city codes to be able to get all of the permits and get all of the inspections passed, right? So if you find yourself saying, yeah, I know I'm overpaying for it a little bit, and it's your first deal, there is also a cognitive bias. It's and I don't know what it's called. It's basically like a novice cognitive bias that basically says, well, it's my first deal, so of course I'm gonna, my renovation project is gonna come in on time and on budget. Listen, even seasoned real estate investors don't say that, right? Typically when I say, my project came in on time and on budget, and I ask who said that, it is no one ever that has said that. But a lot of times a new person who's just getting started thinks, well, of course my deal is going to come in on time. Of course my deal is going to come in on budget. Of course I'm not going to have any surprises with this property, right? Let alone when I'm renovating it, but also when that my end buyer is coming in, because who is my end buyer bringing in with them? This is the interactive part. An inspector, all right? An inspector is going to come in and make the final assessment on how well your work was, or how well your contractor did that work. So guys, I will say, if the last deal that I ever want you to overpay on is the first deal. Does that make sense? The last deal that I ever want you to overpay on is the first deal. Because the first deal, that's where a lot of people will say, well, I learned a lot. Okay, how do I translate that? Does that mean that you didn't make any money, right? Or I got the experience, right? Experience is the toughest teacher out there, because experience gives you the test first and the lesson after, right? Does anybody want to learn that way? Okay, the end of the motivational talk is now. You guys are going to make me work, I can tell. That's awesome. Who's working on a deal right now? Who's working on a deal right now? Yeah. Will you pop over here to this microphone? Yeah. Everybody welcome. I can't read your name tag.
My name is Luciana.
Luciana. Is that right? Yeah. Luciana. I had an architect named Luciana. So everyone say hello to Luciana. Welcome, Luciana. Like, give it up for her. Like, she's brave enough to come up here. Tell me what you're working on.
So right now I'm working on off-market leads.
Okay.
I've had a lot of good experiences with on-market, with real estate agents being very understanding, being on my side. But of course the offers are going in really high right now, so I'm totally out of, the ballpark with my, my formula, following the same formula, and repairs still out of the ballpark.
So you're working with realtors, is that correct?
I tried like a few weeks ago. Right now I'm doing off-market, so like, pre-foreclosure. I have a lead right now that was like a divorce and foreclosure at the same time.
A divorce and foreclosure at the same time. That's a Christmas miracle that's landed on you. Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not an advocate for divorce, but I can help people who are going through divorce solve the problem of the house, right?
Yeah.
So
the thing is, like, the seller is like, she wants to sell.
You want to hear her better. Is that what you're saying? Would you like just slightly adjust the mic to where it's more at your level, and then ma'am, who's leaving, will you shut the door? Yeah, awesome, thank you. Okay, keep going. So they're going through divorce and they're in foreclosure. Okay.
So the seller was very, motivated to tell me all the details of her situation.
Okay.
I tried to recap with her, okay, so how can we verify that the property is in your name and not in your husband's name? The information I got was from her husband's name. So just like confusing, how do we get a hold of her again? The first time I talked to her, we talked for like 2 hours. So I talked to her in the roofing business, so she saw me with my shirt on and everything.
Yes, yeah.
And I got a lot of trust, but now it's like, she told me, oh, we have 9 days until foreclosure. She's trying to get like emergency funds because she lost her income during COVID. And I'm talking to my real estate friend, and he's like, yeah, we need to keep in contact with her every day, because this might not end well. She might just have the whole place taken away from her, and we can help that.
Does she need to keep in contact with her every day? Raise your hand if that's a yes. Does she need to keep in contact with her every day? Raise your hand if that's a yes. Does she? Okay, so you
Pre-foreclosure?
guys are really going to make it difficult for me. I can tell you're all procrastinators. I'll raise my hand later. Really? Come on, guys. Do you think she doesn't need to talk to him every day? Raise your hand. Okay. Okay. And then if you think that she does need to talk to them every day, raise your hand. If you have no clue, if you can't like use this, just let's do something. So you guys are so participatory. We'll have a prize for you later on that you'll really like. And I already took a kind of like a snapshot of everyone who raised their hand and who did not raise their hand because I've got some cool stuff to give away today. So here's what I think you need to do. I don't think you need to be in contact with her every day. I think you need to go over there and get it under contract because every single day that you wait, somebody else is going to swoop in right in behind you, in front of you, whatever, and they're going to put it under contract.
Even the next door neighbor in front, we went to go check on it, you know, a few days ago.
Yes, yeah.
And he stopped my business partner, and he was like, hey, is the lady selling? Because all of us in the neighborhood were trying to get her property. Because everyone else's is new construction. Hers is the only one that's from the, you know, the 60s.
I am like getting physically irritated right now with you. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry.
So I never ask people to do this, but I want you to leave this meeting right now, and I want you to drive over there with a contract. Do you have a contract?
I have several contracts. I haven't used one yet.
I'm getting like.
I have someone interested in Florida that wants to take over the deal from me.
Who cares? Go get it under contract. You're hurting me right now, like physically, like I'm in pain over this.
The thing is that
you are too, right?
I don't have a car to drive over there right now. Like it would cost me a lot to like, you know, get like Uber over there because, you know, it's
I'm getting
long
more
drive.
angry right now. Okay, well get her on the phone. Get her on the phone, okay? In fact, after I finish, I'm gonna take you outside and we're gonna go call her together, okay? Because I can't stand this.
I don't have an updated
that's
phone
okay.
number.
We're gonna do DocuSign, and I'm sure she has like a phone and she can pull it up and sign it electronically, so we can go get it under contract right now. Like I'm literally like getting upset. But let me ask you this question.
Yes.
What is it worth?
I saw the after repair value for the same bedrooms and bathrooms in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
If it's just like, you know, keep it the same way, don't tear it down or anything, just, you know, improve it, change the flooring, whatever needs to be changed, check, you know, AC, everything.
What is it worth? Yeah.
About like 260,000.
260, okay.
And she bought it for 85,000. She doesn't owe anything on it, right? She went to foreclosure 2 times, and she's trying to get out again.
Okay.
Yeah, and doesn't seem good, and maybe a little delusional about her situation.
So what we do as real estate investors, that is a niche for us, for many of us, is we buy houses from people who don't want to sell them on unreasonable time frames, which is what you're going to have to go and do.
Yeah.
But the first step in doing that before anybody else does is to go and get it under contract. So literally, like, we can send her a contract in DocuSign. She can sign it on her phone. She can get it back to you. We can get it over to the title company. We can open title. We can call our bank and figure out how much she owes, and then make a decision in terms of what strategy we want to use from there. So just
From
because
my
she bought it for
understanding,
85. I don't know how long she's been behind.
Oh, she's been in the home for, she said, about 20-25 years.
I don't know when she last refinanced it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, she let me know the issue was not with the mortgage. The issue is with the HOA. So it's really expensive now because it became a really high level, like, golfing community, all the new construction. So now her HOA fee is skyrocketed.
All the neighbors love her, right?
Yeah.
No, the neighbors can't stand her. I can promise you that. So that's why the neighbors are trying to get in on it too. So I think if it's okay, like Luciana.
Yes.
Yeah, Luciana. When I finish, let's walk outside and let's do a call, and we're gonna go and get this thing because I can't stand this. This is like this is paining me right now. So, but that's okay. We're gonna get through it, and then so you listed some of the different repair. You know, you said if we do all these different things, did you come up with a repair bid?
A repair bid, I haven't looked inside of the property. I'm assuming it could be a hoarding property.
Okay.
The garage is broken. Definitely
But probably
needs
hasn't been
landscaping.
probably hasn't been updated in the
Yeah.
20 years since she owned it.
Yeah,
So,
probably
and
hasn't
then
been
is it
remodeled.
like a 1,500-ish square foot house?
It's like 1,000. I believe it was 1,200.
Okay,
somewhere
okay,
around
okay.
there.
My guess is probably somewhere between an $80,000 and $100,000 remodel. But since she doesn't probably owe anything, and that's kind of questionable.
Yeah.
And then you said she was on the foreclosure list. Is it an HOA foreclosure or is it a bank foreclosure?
I believe it's HOA. I didn't see the specifics. This was
Okay.
from another provider, and
Okay.
it didn't have like, what it would have like with a license. I could look at maybe, I don't know. Well, I didn't see all the specifics. All I
Okay.
knew it was pre-foreclosure.
Okay.
I don't know when. She let me know the HOA is too high, but she's been there 25 years. It's
Okay.
paid off. And she
Okay,
even
I
told me
mean-
the amount they bought it for and everything.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's something there. So there's
Yeah.
another kind of wild card that was in here. You mentioned at the beginning divorce. So is the divorce finalized?
Yeah, she told me the divorce was actually finalized already, and they
And then
gave
who
her.
got the house in the divorce decree? I'm sure she did.
She did.
Okay,
yeah.
so part of the process when you're in a situation like this is to get a copy of that original divorce decree, which I'm hoping that she has.
Exactly.
And then you'll also take that over to the title company because it'll establish her ownership. Now that is if what? What might get in the way of that helping her establish that ownership?
HOA lien?
Not the
No.
HOA lien. Are attorneys perfect?
No.
No. I'm sorry. Hold on. I just want to know who I'm offending right now. Who are the attorneys in the room? I'm sorry. I just want to know who I'm offending. Luckily attorneys are not yet a protected class, so we can offend them and say whatever we want. But you look like an attorney, sir, but you're not giving me, okay, just checking. Your friend? Hi. So here's what I find. A lot of attorneys will not do all the divorce paperwork properly. Like I'm dealing with a situation right now where an attorney on 2 different sets of documents miswrote both the legal description and the property address.
Whoa.
So the names are correct, right? But what does the title company say when they see this?
Yeah.
The
needs
title
to
company
be
says, "Oh,
right.
I'm sorry, this is close," but in title insurance, close is not. You
Not
don't.
enough.
You don't get to close with title insurance when it's close. So now we have to go and do what? Find the ex-husband.
The ex-husband.
And maybe be
yeah.
able to get an ex-husband to get a signature on it. And of course the ex-husband is going to say, "Oh, yay, I've been waiting for a call from her. Yes, yeah, what can I do for her? Yeah, can I stop everything that I'm doing right now and go and help her?" Yeah, is that how that conversation goes? No. How do you solve someone who is not just on the fence, but is absolutely uncooperative? What solves that problem? Money solves that problem pretty quickly, right? So don't be afraid to shell out money in these types of situations to be able to push that ball forward, to be able to get what you want. And also be of service to him, because my guess is, and again, you're unsure if it's an HOA foreclosure or a bank foreclosure. If it's a bank foreclosure and he's on the note, obviously it does a lot to help him. But I have seen many situations where a husband or a wife will ask the question, and it'll go something like this, and you'll see these wheels turning. So you have to be really socially, emotionally aware of what's happening in their brains. They'll ask a question kind of like this. So you're telling me, Luciana, that if I don't sign this, she's going to have a foreclosure on her record. Luciana is going to say, "Yes, and you will too." So what you're saying is, I can still screw her. That's the internal dialogue. And you're like, "But what about you?" So you have to be ready for that conversation as well.
Yeah.
You have to be ready for that conversation as well. But I'm hopeful. So I don't want to go down too many rabbit holes, because there are a lot of rabbit holes to go down when you have, some information, but not all of the information. So some things need to be figured out. And usually with these types of folks, you never see a surprise what? What do you never see? Did somebody say it? A surprise what? A surprise what? Happy ending. No? What do you not, what do you usually, what kind of surprises you? How about a lien, a judgment, right? Is this what you find on these, some of these title commitments, guys? And a title commitment is what the title company gives you after they've reviewed both the title on the property as well as the title on the person. Some of these title commitments read like a telenovela. You know, it's like divorce, bankruptcy, foreclosure. You know, it's like judgment, lien, judgment, judgment. You know, it's like it can be a little entertaining and sad, but some of those things mean what? What do you have to do when you see that on a title commitment? What's your title company going to say? The title company is going to say what? Clean it up. And they're going to say, hey, yeah, don't worry about it. We'll take care of all this. In the 7 days before it goes to auction, or what are they going to say? Yeah, you're gonna have to come in and work on the weekend to be able to get this one, right? You're gonna have to be able to do some work, because in some cases they may not be able to clean it, or they may not be able to get payoffs on all of these liens, judgments, etc. in the short amount of time that you have to be able to close on it. Now, what do we do as a creative real estate investor when we can't, when there's like an unsolvable issue? Right before we get to closing, what do we do?
Bring in a partner?
Bring in a partner? What do we do? Get it to another so, but it's headed towards foreclosure, so there's a hard stop. There's a hard deadline here.
Hard money loan?
A hard money lender is not going to loan on it unless you can get title insurance. What do you do? Okay, so you're saying you may have to do a reinstatement while you're negotiating, but if you don't have all the payoffs on all these other liens, judgments, right, are you taking a risk? Yeah, you will. Would you be open to taking a risk, not knowing what could be coming around the corner? It depends. Who said that? It depends on the deal. Yes. Guys, if you're taking notes, please write this down. Every problem has a price. Every problem has a price. You just have to price it in, right? You just have to price it in. And in many cases, I've had to close on properties where I could get title insurance if I moved one of the, for example, liens, judgments from Schedule C, the things that need to be cleared in order to close, and I moved it over to Schedule B, which means I'm taking these subject to basically subject to the lien or the judgment, right? Okay. So that's something that you can do too. That gets very creative. I don't necessarily recommend that if this is your first time playing real estate investor, that this is the route that you go down. But if it's like your, 1000th plus time playing real estate investor, and you understand the risk and you understand that every problem has a price, and you're able to price that in, especially in a case like what we're seeing right now with the property that you're talking about, where you think, right, and right now we're still kind of a blind man in a dark room looking for a black cat that may not even be there, but we think that she may owe very little. So so that gives us some opportunity. So we could price that in, right? And then are some of these liens, what can we do if we find a lien or a judgment on this title? What can we do to make this work?
I think you need to know what kind of lien it is,
could we short it? Could we short it? On IRS liens, for example, if they're not making anything, could we ask for what's called a partial release of lien, which is basically where we're removing the lien from the property, but we're still attaching it to the original person. The IRS does that all the time. Now that strategy takes a little bit more time, and or it is a full court all day press. All the way leading up to the finish line, meaning all the way leading up to the foreclosure. So I think there's a lot of opportunity here. Now, my guess is she said to you, I don't want to sell.
Oh, she actually, at the beginning, she was like, oh, I don't want to sell it to any investor. I want to sell it myself. Like, I want to fix it up myself and sell it. I already have a roofer coming. When they saw us, they were like, oh yeah, I'm glad you're not talking about the roof, because I already have a bid for my roof. I already have, a really good, price set, and my garage, you know, to fix it up. I was talking about the garage and only what I could see from the outside. And she was like, yeah, it's gonna cost me nothing.
But don't you want to, like, you know, reinstate what you're behind before you start fixing the house, right? My guess is, yeah, she can't afford to fix the house, but who can? So what's one of the strategies that we can use as a real estate investor? Please write this down. Equity partnering. Equity partnering is one of my favorite strategies to use with this exact seller situation. So it's basically what that looks like is you're bringing the money to the closing table to reinstate the loan and or to pay off the debt. That means you're bringing the money to the table to be able to renovate the property, and that means you get to split some portion of the property with her at the time that it goes back to resell.
Wow.
Now, depending on how much she owes, we do want to be careful to not give her, to have a holdback that's sufficient, that will make sure we're covered just in case we get some surprises. Yes, Stella.
My question is, since she lives in the home and I'm moving to Texas, like what does that look like with the contracts and that process?
Most people, when you're buying their house, I mean, I would say at least 75% or more actually do live in the home. One of the provisions in the contract is, will the house be empty, right, at the time of closing, or will it go with a lease back, right? So there is a provision that answers that. So great questions. And Luciana, I've got another presentation that I'm about to start in a couple of minutes, but I want to chat with you and I want to see what we can do to get this done, and now is good, okay? Would you guys congratulate or give some applause to Luciana for having the bravery to come up here? Yeah, awesome, thank you for that. And guys, I'm going to go ahead and pull up my next presentation here, so just give me a few moments. And for those of you guys who are online, thanks for watching us.